Each of the president definitely have contributed something either good or bad to the community, and they definitely support audience from the demographic that they support through, like across the states and the politics and all of the supporting factors through the presidents and the Democratic Congress. Next, of course, makes sense for us to start with the first technical president, which is George Washington, a political leader, military general, and one of the founding fathers. He was born in February 22nd, 1732 at the National Monument and died in December 14th, 1799 in George Washington's Mount Vernon, founding father and of the amazing Revolutionary War that helped the U.S. gain freedom. He specifically is a commander in the Revolutionary War and helped make a cross area for land to grant and be held across the USA. Furthermore, he also bought the Louisiana Purchase from France and founded the University of Virginia, and he also wrote the Rights of British America too. Second president, John Adams, which is born in Braintree, Massachusetts on October 30th, 1735 and died in Independence Day of 1826. He served as presidency at 1797 to 1801. He was a politician, independence, diplomat, and a patronist. He served in Continental Congress, signed the Declaration of Independence, and advocated the cross trade through treaties. Some unique quality about John Adams is that he was the first president in the White House, as well as he defended British from the Boston Massacre, ministered the American Revolution. He was also a founding father, the U.S. ambassador to Britain and the Netherlands. Going chronologically, the third president will be Thomas Jefferson, who was statesman, diplomat, lawyer, as well as a farmer, scholar, politician, and authority. He was born in 1743 in Shateville, Virginia, and died in 1826 in Monticello, Virginia. He was a vice president in 1797 to 1801 and became official president in 1801 to 1809 as a founding father who wrote the Declaration of Independence, stabilized U.S. economy, and defeated the pirates in the Barbary War. He also led the Neutrality Proclamation as well as the Executive Continental Congress, and he also battled in military command with Virginia and Regiment and commanded American forces. James Madison gained presidency in 1804 to 1817. He was born in 1751 in Porter County, Virginia, and died in 1836 in Orange, Virginia. He wrote the Federalist paper and he died from heart failure, serving in 1775, directed the Philadelphia Convention to form a constitution, and drafted the Bill of Rights. John Quincy Adams later takes over from 1825 to 1829 and created the 1824 presidential campaign and increased the fund among the Federalist Party. He basically involved in federal economy and development. He created a strong U.S. ambassador and series of policy across the U.S. He created some of the greatest secretary of the state and wrote the Monroe Paper. Andrew Jackson elected in March 26, 1829 to 1837 was basically a seventh president who basically served in the U.S. Congress and fought a lot of wars, colonial attacks. He received many awards such as the Congressional Gold Medal and the Thanks of Congress. He led the force across the Creek War against Native American, appointed Colonial of Tennessee military, and commanded the U.S. force in 1837 to 1841. Martin Van Buren takes over presidency as president. He not only speaks English but also spoke Dutch as well, and he also was a founder of the Democratic Party along with Andrew Jackson. He, however, lost the 1840 through re-election among the Whig Party, but the U.S. Senate let him to serve many as in the New York General to help specifically in the Panic of 1837 to modernize the economy. This basically means he didn't want all the Indians in here, so they kicked them out. And then later defeat British in the Battle of New Orleans and prominent commander in the War of 1812 and own high contribution. He also founded the modern Democratic Party and what increased greater democracy and resolve in the nullification crisis and increased trade across the U.S. He also neutralized the act in the military among the U.S. citizens. William B. Harrison took over as the president in 1841 for less than a month from March to April. He died in D.C. on April 4th, 1841, making him the first president to die in office. He died from typhoid. But however, he did attack in the Battle of Tippecanoe. He did lead some presidential campaign, but that's really all that we can say because wasn't alive that much. O'Grady John decided to join presidency and arrived in office on April 4th, 1841, and he also signed the Log Cabin Bill, which allows settlers to claim land, which allows them for expansion. He also annexed Texas and claimed it as a part of the U.S. and also helped stop the border dispute with Canadian and Maine. Next, James Polk, which basically was a Democratic that helped the Congress and served to help basically the bank war with the authorization as the loyal support. He also annexed like Texas to declare the Mexican independence and led upon the Mexican-American War as a commander-in-chief and negotiated the Oregon County among the land and also increased the trade of tariff and banking rates. We later have Zachary Taylor, which basically was a hero of the Mexican-American War, helped a lot of command through America to take control of many lands and leadership among the Mexican order through the Rio Grande River. Next up, we have Miller Fillmore. Oh great, let's just get this over with. Miller Fillmore, which basically institute the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 and led the Whig Party through destruction and help among the force through and help create the Japanese isolation with signing treaties of slave crap. Next, we have Franklin Pierce, which basically is another president that fought across the Mexican-American War to basically alienate against anti-slavery. He also signed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which is cool, and he also enforced the Fugitive Slave Act among conflict, which later caused the Civil War. Great. We all know about the Civil War. He also purchased the Gaston Help Treaty and the treaty and a bunch of other treaty, basically. Oh yeah, another great president, James Buchanan, everyone's favorite president, and also another James, amazing. Like, we didn't have enough James. Anyway, he did a lot of stuff to the Civil War, including everyone's most notable event, which is the Civil War. Oh, wait, yeah, North-South, who is slavery go about? Oh, yeah, it's bad. No, let's just delete slavery and let's let the black people escape slavery and stuff. Now, this is basically a brief summary of the Civil War. Okay, now James Buchanan did a lot toward the Civil War, including helping the fight, and he also helped the presidential politics. He was never married, by the way, but he did help him on the House of Representatives and help gain Britain-Oregon dispute, and through many treaties, of course, and treatment. He also felt that slavery is bad, but however, he sided with the South through institutions because they need to gain support and support compromise of the 1850 through Senate report. We all know the next president, at least most Americans should know the next president, which is Abraham Lincoln. Help the slavery, help free the slave, help declare war, help a bunch of stuff, even on the $5 flag. Our favorite top hack looking fashion hippie type of presidents. He helped with the Republican, the Democrat, and the Copper Hat, as well as helping some political change through the Gettysburg Address. He also calls among the nationalism, republicanism, and equal right among everyone, and also helped a bunch of stuff like sign the Emancipation Proclamation and sign a bunch of amendments and also create successful re-election campaign. However, he was later killed while watching a movie with Mary by John Wilkes Booth. Andrew Johnson, totally not related to Andrew Jackson, was another president though. He was born in 1860. He was a president for 1865 to 1869. He took presidency after taking the presidency as a vice president from the time where Abraham Lincoln was shot, which is basically from March to April 1865. He favored in the resurrection among the seceded states to the Union among the slaves. He mainly battled in the American Civil War and served as a Tennessee legislature across the U.S. Congress and purchased Alaska, which is put at a cheap price from Russia, and also presided among the Reconstructional area to help rebuild America to a place. Ulysses Ulysses Grant, basically his first name is Haram, but let's not talk about that, is a president. Congratulations. He was a Republican, sometimes called Sam, and led among the army, among the commanding through the U.S. Army through Civil War and worked with the Republicans among the Reconstruction. He led the Union force through the American Civil War and led among the siege of Vicksburg. He also helped protect rights among the members such as the KKK and pass enforcement among the Reconstruction from Andrew Johnson's previous job, and act among as well as the influential Treaty of Washington through the damage of the naval ship. We're up to the 20th president of James Garfield, which served as another president, and he basically was a Republican that joined Union among and drove among Confederation. He also fought in the Battle of Shiloh and the Chickamauga and served as HOR, House of Representatives. I guess you also defend across some people, but and he also repeals Sherman's Silver Act of 1890 for some reason through economical depression, but let's not talk about that. Congratulations, let's give a warm welcome to our next president, which is Grover Cleveland. You were a president, you're also a New York governor too, right? And you also established to regulate monopolyistic practice in railroad industry and signing the Railroad Industry Act and the Interstate Commerce of 1887 through the public sizing shipping rate and increasing military policy among the U.S. defense through a fortification system. We bring back liberalism, but let's just move on to the next one, which is Benjamin Harrison, which is the grandson of William Henry Harrison. I'm pretty sure you remember that guy that died, of course. He was a person. And he captivated among others through the conviction among the Chinese Exclusion Act through the abrogate rights guaranteed to the Chinese through the Burlingame Treaty of 1868 and precise across international America. You also go to the protected among the Samoan Island and regulated and negotiated the Great Britain Treaty through the arbitration and control Bering Sea. Why am I saying you like that person is dead already? And you know what other president is dead, which is William McKinley, which is another president that died from assassination, of course, and rose into a major establishment among the American Civil War to enlist the Union among army by joining force. He participated among a lot of battles such as the Antietam, which basically was one of the most deadliest war, and led the country among the Spanish-American War, which basically enabled the annexation of Hawaii to dominate across business interests through the Spanish-American. He also issued the open door policy and introduced a bunch of tariffs to protect the domestic industry. Theodore Roosevelt was one of the youngest presidents in the U.S. and also was a governor of New York among 1899 to 1900, became a force among the antitrust policy to support the progressive era of the U.S. And he also helped among the Spanish-American War and even got the Nobel Prize for Peace and also the Medal of Honor. He also and the Russo-Japanese War and led to the construction of the Panama Canal. His father also gave him a shock. William Taft, oh boy, another William, has decided to join. He was born in Cincinnati, I think that's how you pronounce it, Ohio. He will also help in the Chief Justice and sign, like every president do, the Adrian Payne whatever treaty and revise the tariff rate and conserve the resources and, well, America. Woodrow Wilson is a president and politician. You also founded the Princeton University. He also led us to World War I in 1917. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's dependent. And also he led the League of Nations. Warren Harding became our president around 1921 to 1923, only less than 2 terms. He was a real war hero, even says it in the name, but let's just not forget about that. He makes a serious among the Teapot Dome scandal and precise among the World War II events that happened. Cite that having been happened. Yeah, but whatever. He also helped among the Washington Naval Conference of 1922 for naval power and justice. After Warren Harding died, someone cooler, okay fine, I'm not gonna make that joke. Calvin Coolidge decided to take over from 1923 to 1929. He basically took prompt over the Boston police strike, and he also helped the economy rise and prosper in the Roaring 20s. The Federal Radio Commission was also established by about that time. He also declared airwaves and public property among the amazing U.S. Who's next? You know, it's Herbert Hoover, who became the 31st president from 1929 to 1933. He served as the U.S. Food Administration and helped in time to help technological advancement for like phones and stuff like that. But he also helped brought the Child Health Protection Service and signed the Davis-Bacon Act for fair wage and separation. Not only that, he also established the Reconstruction Finance Aid and Aid Agriculture and Finance for Public Work, which built urgency to finance public work. No, it's the Great Depression. Everyone's getting mad and sad and want to kill themselves because they don't have enough money to prosper, and everyone decided to blame the government, Herbert Hoover. But then Franklin D. Roosevelt decided to come in and say, I'm rich and I can buy everything in the entire world, and put a bunch of acts like the AACCC and the SSA and other labor. He also decided to establish the 1933 Banking Act to sign laws for corporation. He also created a bunch of employment and discrimination kind of prevention system, and led us to World War II. By us, I mean US, because haha, funny joke. And he also done many speeches and helped deal with the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. The most powerful of all presidents, which is Harry Truman, became the 33rd president after he came on the committee to fund across a bunch of stuff and created the Truman Doctrine, which main purpose is to aid against communism. He also aided the Marshall Plan, which have nothing to do with the island, but in fact, he did recover across the economy and also help aid nations across nation among World War II. He also decided to create a bunch of acronyms, including the UN and the NATO, to help integrate all of the other countries to help combine and join one force together. And he also established more acronyms, including the NSC, the CIA, and the NSA. And he also tried to basically do a bunch of other stuff to reduce the US Army across the racial segregation. Hey you, are you broke? Because if you don't have enough money and you can't afford across every money because of taxes and mortgage, all those income on insurance and all these home loan, well, basically Harry Truman decided to create the Housing Act of 1949 to help bring the poor some money and insurance for land, but it later failed. Let's cheer for the 34th President Dwight Eisenhower, who led among the Allied force through the U.S. military, served as the first Supreme Commander of NATO or NATO or whatever the heck. Let's cheer for him, but he's dead, whatever. And he also helped created the NASA, also known as NASA these days, and also retrieve across conflicts among communists through policy. It was kind of prominent that he has to start a National Security Council, and he also has to help across the South Korea and the Korean War, which later became a tie. And he also administrated across Alaska and Hawaii into the US to become a part of it. Congratulations, we have 50 stars on flag now. JFK, JK, oh great, another acronym president, also known as John F. Kennedy, also known as John Fitzgerald Kennedy, which I'm pretty sure is also pronounced wrong, is awarded the Navy Marine Corps to help preserve World War II over destruction, which is before his presidency because the World War II already ended when Franklin D. Roosevelt decided to nuke Japan. But let's not talk about that. He was also the youngest president to be elected, opposed to Theodore Roosevelt, who is the youngest president to be assumed. He was elected at the age of 43, while Theodore Roosevelt was assumed at 42. He was known for recession and helped retreat across, including the Cuban Missile Crisis, and contributed to formation of nuclear treaty to basically ban this basic attack. He also helped improve among job occupation and housing. After John F. Kennedy's assassination in office, Lyndon Johnson, I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing all of these presidents' middle name, but whatever. Lyndon B. Johnson decided to take over as the 36th president from 1963 to 1969. Haha, funny. He championed across Medicare and helped solve acts like the Voting Rights Act and the Civil War Act so that people won't complain across everything. Richard Nixon highly affected the entire world through its international exploration. He prominently ended the draft and helped move the U.S. military across the all-volunteer force and helped the Cold War through the Tension and signed the Anti-Ballistic Missile, also known as the ABM. He also helped create a treaty to calm the U.S.-Soviet tension, and became the first president to visit China and issue Shanghai Communique, and also announced desire for relationship to sign Paris Peace Accord in 1973 to help end the U.S. from Vietnam War. Not only that, he also established new relationship through the Middle East and also created its own doctrine by copying president. And Gerald Car Company basically decided to create economical policy to end the recession in the US and help create program including the CETA, also known as the Comprehensive Employment Training Act, and also help create employment companies for youth to basically provide more service through employment and create new jobs and help create guns and everything. Everyone loves him. Peanut farmer Jimmy Carter have gained a lot to the U.S., including having to become the governor of U.S. Naval and the Georgia military and have fought in World War II through the military medal, signed a bunch of bills like the SINCRA, whatever the heck, to regulate coal mining, and also have helped negotiate among the Arab-Israel conflict through Egypt-Israel peace treaty and gain relationship with Panama back by giving the canal away. Ronald Reagan and other presidents came here and created the Reagan Doctrine, and the U.S. regarded the USSR through detente and helped build up over the Cold War through armed force. As a result, he increased the employment and introduced across the legislation for drugs offense and enforcement, and was one of the most influential presidents in history. George Herbert Walker Bush became the 41st president, and he basically led the Iraq across to impose economical sanction on Iraq to increase the coalition invasion through the military operation. He also ended the Cold War peacefully and signed the NAFTA. Bill Clinton decided to reform and educate across and help decrease crime by regulating them and helping to create the NAFTA for trading across North America. And he also helped stop the Bosnian War from basically going out of hand to declare independence. And later, George W. Bush decided to create the Social Act and help among Medicare to law and help basically increase the security and the executive order. And later, Barack Obama became the first black president born from Hawaii and basically helped create the Obamacare and end the health and Iraq war, U.S. veteran increase. And finally, the last president, which is Donald Trump, decided to, of course, build a wall across Mexico and also limit immigration, as well as also kind of just create some trade act with some other countries, and also create his own tax system, and later, of course, create some rivalry with North Korea and Iran that relate to World War III.